All right, my clock shows 7 o'clock. So call this meeting to order. If we could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, we have a new Planning Commission member that could not join us last month, so welcome, Mr. McGrath. If you would stand, please, the clerk is going to issue the oath of office to you.
You can just raise your hand, and I'll read this to you. I, Daniel McGrath, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Michigan, the City Charter and Code of Ordinances of the City of Cedar Springs, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of Planning Commission member to the best of my abilities.
Oh, and now you're official. I heard that. All right, roll call. Mr. Bray. Here. Mrs. Bremer.
Here.
Mr. Conley. Here. Mr. Hall is excused this evening. Mr. Law is not heard anything, so we mark him absent. Mr. McGrath. Here. Mr. Mixon. Here. Mrs. Race.
Here.
Mr. Owens is here. We also have Mr. Johnson, our city planner, Mr. Womack, city manager, Mrs. Newland, our clerk. If you take a look at our January 9th minutes, and we'll need a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Anybody see anything in there that needs to be adjusted, changed, questions? All in favor of approving those minutes, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Thank you. Motion carries. Our agenda this evening, before we approve that, I just wanted to point out something that we did for tonight. Since we have 5 public hearings, what we typically have done is had the public hearings under Section 8, and then under Section 9, new business is when we go back and actually deliberate and approve those things. And we thought, with there being the number of public hearings there are, it'd probably be best to deliberate on them after we close each public hearing. So that's a slight change in our agenda this evening, that motion would come up for approval immediately following the public hearings, okay? So with that being said, is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Make that motion.
Okay. That's motion support. Any questions? Other things that you spot? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Thank you. Motion carries. Public comments. Any of our fine citizenry that are here, that whether you'd like to address something that's on the agenda or not, this is your big moment in the spotlight that you can step up to the podium, and we would be all ears to hear what you have to say to us. Just for the clerk, could you just give her your name?
Kurt Brown. I'm here with the local impact. I just wanted to say how they have helped me. I used to live up here in the park. I found a place actually right across the street from here. They helped me get into there, get approved. They gave me just gave me the support to get in there and all that, and like I just moved here from South Florida, so that's all I got.
Good, thank you.
I'm also here, my name is Flossie Jones, on behalf of Local Impact. It's not just an organization to give things to the community or people in the community. They are an emotional support. They are a phone call away. They are there for prayer. They are there to support us. They want to help us in more ways than one, and they invite us to their Bible studies. They reach out as an outreach to each and every one, but it's a person-to-person basis. Maybe one week I broke my leg and I needed dinner. They might bring me a dinner. If we need furniture, they might bring us furniture. If we need food, they bring us food. And because some people may not have vehicles, they do food delivery. It's twice a month. And even though like Kelly and John are in charge of it, we know them by name. We know how to communicate with different people along the program. They come and ask us for prayer. They ask us if we need anything, and they make sure that those of us that are in need or anything are getting those needs met. And if they can't, they try to find the avenues and the things they can do to help us. And with them expanding and reaching out, they have community dinners. Not all the time do they do that, but if families need something at Christmas, they're making sure that the families with children can get adopted for Christmas and making sure all needs are met in more than one ways. And it's like some of the other ones are food delivery people, are volunteers at the community dinners. And so it's not just a one-person program. It takes multiple people, but Kelly and John are instrumental in being good organizers and making sure that those needs are met. And the other ones that deliver or volunteers relay messages to John and Kelly and make sure that those needs are met. It's never gone without a prayer, never gone without reaching out. I mean, one of the prime examples is my mom has been passing away for about a year. They gave her a year to live. It's gone down more. I've had more than one person call me, text me, ask how my mom's doing, ask for prayer, made sure those needs were met, made sure the kids, do they need anything? Are you guys all set? And so they reach out to all of us in many, many ways, and I'm very grateful for the program and the organization.
Good evening. My name is Helen Lewis. I remember this year I couldn't bake again because I had no stove. They provided a stove and a dryer for us. Everything I need, they provide for us. And my daughter's been sick, they prepared for us. Me, I don't drive anymore. I don't got a bit of a go anymore. So they helped me, the place they were going to set up, I go to my home, so I'd be able to walk there. But I hope they open it soon, because, as I say, I'm 70 years old, I don't drive anymore. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. Seeing none, thank you for sharing those thoughts. We appreciate that. Commission members, this is our time on our agenda to report any conflicts of interest or ex parte communications regarding the agenda items that will be before us tonight. Okay. So let's move to our public hearings. The first one in your packet, folks, is on page 7 in your packet if you want to move down to there. We are going to be looking at special land use at 40 West Beach. And so we will open that public hearing, and Mr. Belbot, are you here? Why don't you step up to the podium and tell us a little bit about what you're requesting from us this evening.
Okay. So my wife and I have lived at 40 West Beach for 10 years now, and we're just trying to move our family from that house to another house. And in part of trying to sell the house, the banks want to know that the new owners of the house would be able to rebuild the house as a residence in order to finance the new owners. So we can't actually sell the house unless the new owners are able to rebuild their home. So that's what I'm here for.
Okay. Good. All right. So, is there anybody that is here that would like to speak in favor of that? Anybody have any support that you want to share publicly? You're welcome to do that at this time. Right. Anybody that wants to speak against it, anybody that has an issue with that, you're also welcome to. Okay. Seeing none, I guess we will close the public hearing then, and Mr. Johnson, we'll turn to you to share a couple of your thoughts with us on this project.
This was all me.
Okay.
The city doesn't necessarily have any problem with what Mr. Belbot's requesting, but I believe the house was built in 1925, which may have been long before an era where special land uses were even in existence. But since that time, this body has designated single-family residences in that district to be special land use. And so we were approached to sign off on the rebuilding of the home if it were to be destroyed. And since the home is currently non-conforming, I couldn't do that. So what we figured we would do is get a pre-entry special land use, which seems to make sense if the home's been there since 1925. And that way I can then sign off and allow them to rebuild. My only real concern is, this is one street over from Main Street, and at some point in the distant future, we may want that space to be available for retail or, some kind of business. It is a commercial area. I think that's a bit optimistic for the time being. I don't think we're going to have retail spilling over onto 2nd Street anytime soon, but it's a possibility. But that being said, allowing them to rebuild the single-family residence doesn't preclude them from then selling it and turning it into commercial space at that point in time. This just gives them the right to rebuild as a single-family residence.
Planning Commissioners, anybody have any questions for Mr. Womack on this special land use request? Okay. So, what is your pleasure? How would you like to proceed on this? Would there be a motion to grant that special land use?
If we grant that special land use, it still goes to city council for approval, correct?
No?
No.
It would just be done here.
It is.
So, McGrath made motion. Is there support for that? Second, second. Any other discussion? All right, so motion is to approve the special land use for 40 West Beach Street for the residential home to be there. Motion and support. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right. So you can go with Mr. Womack then on anything that needs to be signed by the bank. Yep. Yes.
Did we need a motion to close each one of the
No.
public hearings?
Okay. In fact, I will, let me just kind of as a point of order, as part of, in our agenda, I was reviewing our bylaws and discovered that we have in our bylaws a format for the public hearing. And so in there it states that the chairperson opens and closes the public hearings, and then we have the motion support for the matter afterwards.
I did notice that, but in the past we've done it.
Yeah, I know. So we're following the rules now. How about that?
That's what we like.
All right. So we have our second public hearing tonight is page 42 in your packet. If you want to jump to that spot, and 288 Main Street. It is for a project that is the local impact is asking for, and so Jonathan, why don't you share a little bit about this project that you'd like to undertake there?
Yeah, thank you. And yeah,
was here last month, and I believe we got all our ducks in a row now. So yeah, thank you again. Like I said last month, we're excited about the area of Cedar Springs, and just all the stuff that's going on here. I believe that this town is just really going to take off in the next few years. And we were at the thing next door. I think it was last year for the unveiling of the library and all the plans for downtown. And I'm really excited for all that stuff to happen. And along those lines, for about 2 years now, Local Impact, which in the site plan or whatever, it said Resurrection Life. I go to Resurrection Life Church, but actually Local Impact is a separate 501c3. We're not a church, we're a nonprofit, but it just, I don't know if that matters, but so just thought I'd throw that out there. But anyways, so yeah, for a little over 2 years now, as you heard some of our friends say, we've just been going out into the community and just trying to plug people who have, gifts, abilities, talents into the needs where they can be used. So I'll just read what's, you probably already looked at it in your packet here, but the property will be used as a community outreach center, a nonprofit 501c3. Several different uses for the facility with an open floor plan without fixed seatings, folding chairs, tables, basically a multi-purpose room in one area. And then we'll use this building as a home base for assisting and helping people in our community to improve their lives. We'll do this through resources available through religious, secular, private groups, churches, school programs. We'll offer financial counseling, life skills, food assistance, catered in potluck style community meals. We're not seeking for a licensed kitchen or anything like that. It's just basically kind of potluck style Thanksgiving dinners and things that we've done at the school in the past. Just all sorts of different things, whatever it may be, mentoring programs, ladies and men of honor, I mentioned that. But we plan on using this as an infrastructure to help connect people in need with experts in the area of that need, to build positive relationships and affect life change for this community, just to make the just better standard of living and help and train and teach and walk with people. We're relational. As you heard, we're just not about just driving by and giving people some food and getting out of here. We like to walk with people and get involved in their life and help kind of coach them, almost like adopt a family in some regards, just help really walking with people. For some of us that have been blessed and life has dealt some folks a rough hand. It seems to me one of the main issues is the parking. I kind of threw the number out there of 50 people, and we've kind of been circulating around that, but I see that I'm kind of new at all this, so that's to be determined by this building inspector and some other factors that may make that higher or lower and determine the parking. We do expect a lot of foot traffic. A lot of the folks we deal with, they don't have licenses or don't have a car, so I hope that the Planning Commission will take into consideration that with the parking. We would like to have as much green space as possible. We want a nice looking building. In fact, I didn't even know that building was there. We were looking at the Probst building, and someone said, "Hey, did you see that building for sale over there?" I'm like, "What building?" I didn't even see it. There was a sign in there, and we went and looked at it, and it was like a jungle, in there. So, but yeah, it was crazy, and it's in like the perfect spot for us. I mean, if you drew a bullseye, that's it. Right there, there's already 2 paths coming out with that park. There was talk of a gate putting in there, and we can utilize that green space in the back when it isn't flooded for all sorts of games and fun with kids and things like that. So, it's just absolutely perfect location. Yeah, like I said, in the building itself, I don't know if this is details that need to be addressed right now, but the main room and then a middle room, which we'd like to use for like a kitchenette, preparing food, kind of like what the library has, and then the front room for offices and meetings and stuff like that. But yeah, we're excited about the area and the community and seeing and doing our part that we can help and work with folks and improve life and life standards for everybody. So I'm sure you guys will talk about it. The couple issues that were highlighted on the report seem to circulate around parking and drainage and some stuff like that, which we are totally willing to comply with. There was a couple things like the rolled raised curb. Obviously, I agree that that looks great and looks nice, and if it was there, and it has to be there, I'll be happy when I see it. I noticed that there's not a lot of that around, so if I didn't have to pay for it, that would be fantastic. It'd be one more thing that we could put the money elsewhere. And then same thing with the variance, I think between the parking lots of the Dollar General, there was some setbacks from the road and from their parking lot, and several other things that were highlighted, which I'm sure you'll talk about in the report. And I just whatever's logical and makes sense to make that property, since it already exists, work. I'm sure you guys are good at doing that, so we will gladly comply with everything that you guys need to have done, but some of these things, as they go forward, I'm sure we'll have to, just whatever you guys levy and decide is needed is what we'll do, so, but yeah, I guess. You guys
have any questions, Mr. Brisman, at this time?
Not yet, but is it okay if we call back on it?
Yep.
Yeah.
As we work through this? 'Cause I
Sure.
think we might mention the past.
Sure, if he knows the answer to that one, it'd be.
Now, I know that the property does flood in the back, further back from the building.
Mhm.
Is there any problems with flooding close to the building?
So we looked at that. I have a couple of my friends, volunteers and helpers, are landscapers. One's a farmer, and they deal with property and drainage. And one glance, it's got like 20 or 30 years of sediment, basically jungle leaves and humps and things, and it's slopes towards the building. And yes, in that very back room, there was about 2 inches of water over the busted up concrete. And we raised that concrete up. And so it's not getting wet down there now, but the water was coming to the building, and then if you notice that back building was all like crooked, it was just heat from the frost underneath there. So we dug up underneath each one of those posts and reseeded those below the frost line and everything like that. We had to actually jack them up with like car jacks and everything like that. It's not perfect, but it's solid and it's straight. But we do need to. Our plan was to try and get that. You can't put a yard, the parking lot, everything on the outside is going to need to be, redone. Obviously, the plan that you guys are looking at, there's a couple different parking scenarios, but we need to have that graded so there's some fall. I was hoping away towards the back park there where it already is kind of swampy when it rains. So, yeah.
So making it, so you're hoping to get it where it grades away from the building towards the swampland, or?
Yeah, because it kind of comes up the back, and I don't know what, there's dead dinosaurs under there or what, but there's a couple of humps, and they just need to be, the earth just needs to be moved around in a way to create that. It's there, it's just all just discombobulated in a mess. So we need to get a front end loader or something in there to grade that, and if there's obviously some sort of, I'm sure there'll be analysis or some system that you guys use to make sure the water goes, or that we can prove that the water's going to go where it's going to go. So, yeah.
Thank you.
I believe that happened when they were fixing Village Park. Following a bunch of soil up there.
It could
I
be.
didn't know it didn't get put away, but.
Yeah, it just all grew up. I think that stuff's like an invasive species or something that was growing in there. Literally, it was like, it is, I think, and I think it's edible. I like to live off the land, so, hey, there was a lot of it there. You could eat it growing there.
Any questions? We can, or we can, like Clint said, we can ask those later when we get into those nitty-gritty things.
Yeah, I noticed the lighting too, and that's all like, sure, yeah, it's great. So,
Right.
we want a lighted parking lot, so, yeah. Cool, yeah. Any other questions?
Right. So, anybody else, because again, this is a public hearing, so anybody that would like to speak in favor of this project, you are welcome to step up to the podium and share your thoughts with us.
shot.
John Ryder.
I'm definitely in favor of this project. I think it's a great thing for our community. I have little business students here that, and I love how it is lots of people and they love people. And that's very much needed here, I think. So it would be great. Thing for the community.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Jennifer Strong. I would just like to say that I'm one of the vehicle drivers, and they've already said it, but the families on our routes become part of our family. I've adopted 9 families in there. I communicate with them weekly, even though I only see them every 2 weeks, sometimes even daily, multiple times a day. And we take these families into our lives, and we don't just, like Jonathan said, drop off the food box on Saturday and say, bye, see you later. We walk with these people through some very extenuating circumstances. They become part of our lives. They change our lives as well. It's not just us changing their lives. So Helen is one of the ladies that I've met and become extremely close with. And it's just such a positive impact on the community with what we can do and offer to everyone that's out there. It's not just the part that we're here to serve.
Right. Anyone that is here that would like to address us that is not in favor of this special land use that we're looking at in there, you also have an opportunity to address us. Okay. All right. Seeing none, we will close the public hearing at this time. So, Mr. Johnson, you have prepared a report for us. If you would like to walk us through that report, that would be great.
I'd be glad to do that. For those of you in the audience that have not been to the planning commission meeting before, we could probably get everybody here. This is one where the zoning ordinance requires that a use of this type of nonprofit community center requires a special use permit because there's something special about this use that doesn't apply to maybe some other commercial uses. The ordinance says that a public hearing has to be held in the planning commission. These folks make the final decision. And there's 2 parts to the review. One is the use itself and whether it fits the area. And then there's the site plan. In other words, what's there, how much parking does it have, the lighting, the landscaping, all those things come into consideration. And even though you're moving into an existing building, there are a number of zoning ordinance regulations that relate to bringing it up to code as if it was a brand new use code. Some of those things don't apply because the building's there, but other things do apply that they're making changes to. So that's the process we're in tonight. My job is to review the project and see how it complies with our zoning ordinance regulations. So I'm going to kind of walk the planning commission through that. Just going through my report, I'll go over the site plan portion first. The parking is something that needs to be looked at. We looked at what the applicant told us, that there may be room for 50 people in there, so our ordinance would require 1 parking space for every 2 residents at the maximum occupancy, so that'd be 25 people. But it really is up to the building inspector to tell us by law how many people can fit into that building. What is the maximum occupancy? And then that determines how many parking spaces have to be provided. So that would have to be a condition of approval to have the building inspector take a look at the building, how it's going to be set up, the multi-purpose room and that sort of thing, and how many parking spaces would be required. They only show 17 spaces, so if they need more than 17 spaces, there are some avenues they can follow. One, they can ask for variance. They can provide the spaces that are required, or the planning commission has the right to grant a deferment. Let's say they show 17 spaces, but they really need 25. You have the ability to grant the 17 spaces if they show you that there's room for the extra 8 spaces on there, and they have to draw those in on the site plan and give you something in writing that says through a deed restriction that they'll put in the 25 if the need requires. Okay, so there's an avenue to follow if they can meet the parking requirements. The new parking, our ordinance requires a 10-foot setback from the north property line. They're right on the property line, but again, the planning commission has the discretion to grant a waiver from that if the applicant provides that in writing, which I think they could probably do that by putting that into the minutes. Asking for that waiver, you could grant it, and they would have to put that note on the site plan. Page 3 of my report, our ordinance requires a 6-inch raised or rolled concrete curb around all parking lots. Unfortunately, the ordinance does not grant you the discretion to waive that requirement. They would have to put that in or seek a variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals. The ordinance requires that all parking lots be adequately lit. They don't show any lighting for the new parking lot. That is an item that you could require them to put that lighting in. There is a older mercury vapor light on the building that should probably be taken down because it doesn't meet the current zoning ordinance standards. Regarding landscaping, we're in the process of updating our landscaping regulations. They would normally need three trees in the back to comply with the parking landscaping requirements. You could waive that subject to the ordinance being adopted by the City Council in the coming months. One other thing I kind of skipped over on the first page, and that is for a brand new use, the front yard parking has to be set back 20 feet. And that allows for landscaping to get away from the sidewalk. Their asphalt parking lot comes right up to the sidewalk, but it's not being used. You could require, as part of the conditional use permit, that they move that parking a little further back from the sidewalk. If you go out there now, you'll see some other uses have their parking right up to the sidewalk, which is not a good way to run a sidewalk. If somebody opens a car door and next thing you know they're taking out a bicyclist or somebody. So the parking should be set back. Maybe it's not the whole 20 feet, maybe it's 10 feet, but there should be something you should address in terms of moving that parking away from the front sidewalk. The ordinance requires an underground irrigation system if it's practical. I don't think it is practical to require an underground irrigation system. It sounds like the flooding takes care of that. So we don't, I think, again, that's something within your discretion to grant that or not. I made a recommendation about there's a fence around the property. They probably have already thought of this, but just a gate at the back of the fence so the folks from the mobile home park next door can go back and forth, and maybe there should be some kind of a improved path. Maybe it's just a wood chip path or something. So when folks walk through the parking lot, they can follow something that's more than just a groove in the dirt. Some kind of an improved path would be helpful. Just some minor items about labeling certain things in the site plan, showing an existing fence at the end of the existing parking lot, show the height of the fence. If they're going to have a dumpster, that needs to comply with the screening requirements of the ordinance. And then the city engineer also has given you his comments in a separate report. So those are the site plan issues. Special use permit, basically the question you ask yourself is this use appropriate for this location? So you have to look at the hours of operation, what is the impact on adjacent properties, and there are standards in the code about whether it would be appropriate in appearance and operation with uses around it. I think it would be, given that there's commercial uses on either side of it. Outdoor activities, there's a park right next door. If they are using the park and there's residences nearby, we may want to limit some outdoor activities to a certain time, 8 or 9 or 10 o'clock at night, so it doesn't be a bother for the nearby residences. But generally, I think the use itself is appropriate for that location if they can comply with the site plan requirements. I've given you a motion for your consideration for approval, a number of comments for you to go back and decide how you wish to address those. Some of those are within your discretion, some are not. But generally, if you follow through that, you should be able to come to a conclusion at the end of the discussion. Comments, questions?
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Johnson?
Okay, so you mentioned a gate, or a fence. There's a tall fence close to the building and then the fence at the back line.
Right. Yeah.
Is that the one you were talking about taking out?
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't, they note it, but they don't show it being taken out, so it's just a matter of taking, just changing the drawing slightly.
Oh, I see, okay.
When you say adding a variance for the parking for 20 feet, does that mean it's supposed to be 20 feet from the sidewalk,
Yes.
so adding a variance to say only 10 feet from the sidewalk then, or keeping it at 20 feet?
I think it's within your discretion at this point in time. The parking lot is there, but the car isn't. So you could require, as a condition of the special use permit, that they not park closer than X number of feet from the sidewalk. Just because if this was a brand new use, they would be required to be 20 feet back.
Okay.
But it's an existing use, so there's a little bit of leeway there. They're a little tight on space for parking anyhow. But again, going forward, is that a good look, or is it a safety issue to have a car parked right next to the sidewalk? I don't think it is.
So what you're describing could be accomplished just with lines, with marking on the pavement, without necessarily.
That's the low-cost way to do it. You could require that maybe a landscape island be put in, where they take the asphalt up, and you know nobody's going to park there. So, but that's within your discretion to decide what the best way to approach that is.
Would 5 feet work?
Would 5 feet work? How big is the car door?
Opening the car door.
How big is the car door? If it's a van that slides, there's no. It's a Mercedes Benz. Okay, anything else? Anybody else have questions? All right, thank you.
All right, so on the final page of Mr. Johnson's report, where he has the suggested motion there, you see that there's several items that we have to make determinations on before we approve this. So but we just go back, we'll just go through the points real quickly and everybody's take on them, and then we can kind of craft our motion from that, if that's all right. So, number one, on the parking spaces, the 50 is, as you heard Mr. Bergman say, is where they're already, that's their guess. That ultimate number is going to be determined later. So it very well could be that, they might, when the building inspector gets in there, he might determine the occupancy is 38, or you might say that it's 75. They won't know until they get in there. So, so there are the options that we have there. The one that he, one is to just we set the number, and the applicant, if they don't like that number, they can go to the ZBA with it. So we pick the number there that we want. Or I should say follow the ordinance just as is without any varying from that. And then also, Mr. Johnson mentioned the deferral. If you'll remember, those of you that were here when we approved the site plan for Culvers, right? We did that as well for Culvers. We had them designate where additional parking spots could be, even though they're not putting them in right now until, then we have the option to go back later and say, you got to put parking spots in because it's too crowded. So there's a couple of different options there. So thoughts on how you would like to proceed? And number one with parking places.
Since there's so much foot traffic, maybe defer some spaces until the building inspector tells us how many to deal with.
It's very difficult for us to make a determination
It
about
is.
how far the line's there. We don't know what the number is yet. So I think that's the best thing we can do.
Jonathan, you got room, you got a place where you could put in more parking?
Yeah.
If you need to?
We had the plan written up for 25 spots or 17. I mean, our hope is to have as much green space, not just an asphalt jumbled area, where we can put nice. So the more greenery, the better. I did look at, tried to look at a couple similar towns like Sparta and Caledonia and Greenville, and their code for like a community center. The only one I could figure out their language on was Sparta's, and that was 3 people to every, or one spot there were 3 people, and I think it's 2 here, but it's similar size town. But spend a lot of foot traffic, so, and we could provide those extra spots.
So they would redraw the plans, or they put on their plan, their site plan, where the deferred parking would be, right?
Yes, it all depends, what is the number that is required, and then based on that number, then the appropriate action can be taken by the applicant. I think if they want to ask for a deferment, I think they would have to come back here and seek your approval on that. Rather than you grant it right now, you don't know what that number, you don't know how many spaces you're deferring. And if they need 30 instead of 25, and there's not room for 30, well, then you can't defer all of the code, because the ordinance requires that they show it. They show the extra spaces, so they may have to go to the variance in the end, I don't know.
Do you know what the building inspector is supposed to be back to you?
Well, that might be it, because, I mean, if the planning commission approves the special land use, I mean, yeah, it might be just like next month or something, when the city inspector gives us that number, that this is a separate thing, and I have to discuss with a couple of different options, so we know that I can get those drawn up, the Nader draws, but then you guys can just address that, when we know that number, you know.
So,
I mean, even if in a perfect world, if you go green light on everything, whatever, we wouldn't be done with the inside until spring, you know, or, you know, and then we can't deal with the outside until it's not affecting the opening next week or anything.
well, it seems to me like the best option on this one is to just not finalize anything on the parking, because we don't know, right, how many spots. And then, so in the meantime, you should, have your engineer work on where the extra spots could go in. And then once the city inspector gives you that number, then we can finalize it.
And I understand now, like, exactly what you're looking for, so I would just make that appointment for the next meeting or whatever it is.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense to me, yeah.
So the sooner you can get the building inspector to,
Will be, yeah, hopefully next week.
okay, that'd be good. And then, like, you always have the option to, like how this board rules, and you can, take that to the ZBA and all that, so. And so, like, I guess I look to you, how do you want us to word, when we go through this motion, that we're going to defer that part until they come back with the city inspector's number?
Well, I guess first, before we get to that, I'd like to say that we, as you all know, want to look at both lighting and parking
Right.
for ordinance changes in the future too, so we'll get it resolved at some point in some way, but, I don't know, Mr. Johnson, do you think they could approve it subject to, or do you want to, have them come back after he has the number? Because I see problems with approving it subject to. And while I think we could have a very productive discussion tonight, and I think we could talk about where we may have problems and where we don't have problems, I would hate to get everybody's hopes up and then, find out there's 200 people permitted in the building, you need 100 parking spots, But it's just one of those things we have to work through these issues. And this is where we find the issues.
So I guess my question would be, as the statement is written, it states that the number shall be determined by the building inspector. And it will later then be determined by the applicant to provide the number of spaces on the site where seeking alternative means. Mr. Johnson, do you feel that that's appropriate just to leave as is, included in the motion?
I think that's a fair way to proceed, is you're going to leave it up to the building inspector to determine occupancy. They'll tell us how many parking spaces, and then the applicant either complies or seeks, shows it on the site plan, or seeks an alternative method. It's really up to them how they wish to proceed at that point. I think you could add to that by saying if they're seeking a deferment, that they come back to you and ask for that deferment. So you have full knowledge of what that number is, and grant it in advance. I think that's wise to do that.
Right.
So adding to number one, you could add the sentence that if the applicant seeks a deferment, they shall come back to the planning commission for approval.
I mean, my logic of wanting to use
city inspector, can you set a number?
Yeah, that's done. I mean, you've all been in wedding receptions where it says maximum occupancy limited. It's 25 people and there's 300 there. So that's a matter of enforcement. And yeah, you can say, we'll approve it subject to that, and the applicant shall comply or be in violation of the ordinance. You can do that.
Of course, sorry if I could just jump in. Of course, Mr. Owens, as you well know, what we're trying to prevent is a situation where they have 5 parking spots, they have 50 cars every day, and so now they're parking at the dollar store, they're parking everywhere up and down the street, which inhibits those businesses. We just don't want that to happen. As much as we like the organization, they have to be able to provide on their own property what they need.
So, the way that this thing is written, as we're working on it right now, is that once you get the number from the inspector, then you're either gonna, show how you can make it work, seek another alternative, which would be going to the ZBA or something like that, or putting on there the deferred spaces, which you would come back here again for approval for that. So, I guess my thinking of the way that we'd approve it tonight, if we approve it like this, it still leaves you with a lot of options. Okay. We're not setting the number for you right now, we're leaving it open to figure out where we go after that.
So if we didn't approve it tonight, and they had the chance to get the building inspector in there to get all this ironed out, and then brought it back next month, would that be, you said you aren't planning to occupy until spring, right?
Yeah, we'll just be doing work on it, which we can't do until the inspector gives us our sign off and permits and all that anyway, so. Yeah.
I don't know, it's just a thought.
Well, I mean, if we're in agreement on, on all the other points, I think
Okay.
that, this could be addressed when the inspector gets in there, so. We'll see, but that is an alternative too, to kind of come up with everything else and then just table it till the next month when we have, like kind of blanks that we can fill in.
Yeah, would it need the same mailer to all the neighbors and all that, or just?
No,
Because if you
because
approve
we've already had the
tentatively-
public hearing on it.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was wondering.
Right, so, all right, so we'll see when we get, if we're in agreement on these other points, maybe we'll figure out how to do that, but, yeah.
One thing we haven't brought up, talking about parking, is the whole sidewalk and
Yeah, we're getting there. In fact, that's number 2.
make sure that you're done, not bypassing the pocket parking.
So number 2, what is your thoughts on the setback from the parking lot is currently all the way out to the sidewalk?
I think I'm with Mr. Johnson. I mean, it is a very small, tight parking lot, and 20 feet from the sidewalk will limit a lot. But I do agree that we do need to set it back some. I think 10 feet to set it back will keep people safe on the sidewalks. And we'll just have to figure out what to put there to keep people from parking in that spot. But I think at least 10 feet, but I think 20 feet is just a little bit, because it's already really tight.
Other thoughts on?
I have to agree with something like 10 feet. Is there something that you can do for green space or some shrubs or something to keep you parking there that actually still makes it look nice?
Kathy, did you have?
I guess I have a problem with tearing up the asphalt and putting down plants. Because the other stores along there don't have landscaping in front of them. And this one's really close to the sidewalk, the front windows. Is that the spot we're talking about?
Well,
If I could just jump in, I hate that argument, and here's why. Just we always allow people to go to the lowest common denominator. We never raise ourselves up. And so I totally agree with the 20 feet's way too far. That's ridiculous. But
small space that's there. And are we talking about right in front of the windows?
No.
Is that what we're talking about?
No, because you can't park there. We're talking about in front of the building where you can park,
Okay.
and in front of,
There's
or
a section-
by Dollar General.
Sorry, yeah, there's a section over towards the Dollar General.
Okay, then I have that.
Yeah, I would have both. So you've got the spots there. I want to see what it looks like in place.
We're gonna have to end up grinding that parking lot up and redoing it anyways. And I'm all in favor of, that doesn't sound, I mean, like I said, I want a nice looking building too, but we have, I'd rather do that and get grace in the parking than in the back, than, you know, it's just, yeah, I understand, but yeah.
It's in who's there, so. I vote for, safety first. I agree that 20 feet, is for an existing building, and for existing parking, that may not be necessary. I would still hold new businesses coming into the 20, if this was new development. But the safety is a concern. I'm looking at this from above, and if someone's coming down that sidewalk and the car's parked right there, that would be an issue. So any solution that provides a gap and provides probably some sort of physical barrier from a person, from that vehicle traffic interfering with pedestrian traffic, that's what I'd be looking for.
Okay. So 10 feet is that?
I think 10 feet or a reasonable number of feet and a reasonable barrier, I would be okay with. Landscaping, some other form of barrier, whatever is going to provide that safety.
We need to give you a hard number though, don't we?
Well, if at this point we're not able to approve the parking deferment, you could table that as well. You can get out there with your tape measure. I think 5 feet would be reasonable. I'm just looking at a picture of it right here, and I don't think car doors are wider than 5 feet. And frankly, people don't park right up to the curb or the grass or whatever anyways. I think 5 would be reasonable, but it's up to you guys.
I took some pictures and I was trying to figure out where we were talking about, because I'm more visual than this site plan. So it's the parking along Dollar General's parking lot.
I could show you a picture if you'd like.
Well, I've got a picture, but it's not very good.
I know you're using that Apple product that probably doesn't
Okay, Smarty, show me a picture.
I mean, even Chrome doesn't work.
Oh.
He said me. There, that's a good picture.
So that's what I'm talking about. It already started. He started.
Yeah, I guess when you look at it like that, the doors weren't going to make that part bigger. I wouldn't care as much, but because people wouldn't need it like those. But so when we go to approve that, are we going to have to approve whether you put some like a concrete thing or it's going to tear it up anyways?
Anyone else want to see the picture that I showed?
Because I mean,
Sure.
if he's just going to tear it up, he can just say, okay, asphalt. So that's exactly what I'm thinking of. I'm looking at the same thing. You wouldn't have to put asphalt to then it's.
Of course, I just can't
Make that up. Right, other than the part where you have to drive over.
I believe, yeah, you're talking about here, right?
Well, it would be the entire length, but specifically right there is what I'm talking about. Although if there was a 5-foot wide gap, if you open your car door there, you're not now putting your car door to the crack that's on the sidewalk.
Yeah, so there, and what about here?
Well, it would be the entire length.
Oh, okay.
But specifically there.
So you said you're going to tear up the parking lot or going to?
I mean, they're gonna have to resurface it and, yeah.
So what kind of, would there be some kind of barrier that you could put in that 5-foot,
Probably the only thing that would keep from, put some sort of curb thing or something there that can be, where you got witches all over the sidewalk and if there's some way to retain it, and keep it from going everywhere. So yeah, it would probably be some sort of like a curb retainer, you know, along there that was durable and last. It would spill off what's inside. So, yeah.
So are we good with 5 feet and some kind of barrier from there, landscaping and something like that?
I prefer 10, but I guess it depends on what you come back with measurements though.
Okay. Any other thoughts on 5 versus 10? All right, so big quick poll, Kathy, 5 feet? Renee?
Yes.
Yes. Still?
Guess I lose.
You already done that one.
So, but we're saying 5 feet with some, I don't know how you want to word it, barrier,
Island or something.
I'll say planting island is what I think of.
Okay.
We have extensive language in the upcoming landscaping ordinance that would correct that.
okay.
Generally, it's, well, in this case, it would be 5 foot wide and, was it 2 feet shorter than standard parking spot?
That's the thing.
Yeah.
That would come into play. So as long as John has an idea of what you're looking for, they can keep a roughly from like this.
Right, number 3 is, yes, sir.
Part of that, number 2, included the 10-foot setback from the north lot line.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, I thought that was number 3.
Yeah, you're right.
Right.
That's right.
So number 3. 10-foot setback from the Dollar General parking lot side. It's 4 feet now. So existing. I don't know. It's page 2 of his report. 60.
No one knew what happened.
Yes, that's Dollar General over there, so it's this parking lot right here. It should have a 10-foot setback, and it's 4.
Are those continuous? Or can you drive right through that?
Yeah, they could.
They do.
Yeah, I've seen it too.
Oh, yeah. Does our ordinance speak to adjoining parking lots? Because I know there are several places that.
No.
Because if it's adjoining, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to take a setback between two adjoining parking lots.
No, it is a dip and everything like that, so it's not level.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, from this view, it's hard to tell if it's.
But people
Get right now.
It's a good way to tear up a curb.
Oh, no, accept that.
Mr. Owen, just for a second. So apart from the 10-foot setback, if I'm looking at the right place.
We're talking about on the Dollar General side now? Or?
Yeah, Dollar General side. I do believe that people drive through that area. I really don't like that. I think that's dangerous.
5 feet
So something Mr. Johnson and I were talking about was some kind of visible barrier between those two, whether it be bumper blocks or a low wall or something. A bumper block is probably the best because you don't bang up the front of your car, but it wouldn't prevent people from sliding through there at least.
They were there, but people moved. They were like, you know, the subway hooked up on insurance, so they could